The question, what inventions have had the greatest positive influence on human behavior? And by invention, I mean not just a device or a machine. Could be a skill or a system. And one of them is not toilet paper. Let's hear your answers. Who'll go first? Irrigation? Somebody else? Yes. Say vaccines. Let's have a third. The skill of washing your hands. Okay. Fourth. Wheel. Good one. Fifth. Teaching. And the others? Say electricity. We could go on. Every one of those has provided real benefit to human progress. When I planned this speech, I thought my question would be, what is the single most important invention that has given benefit to human development? Chose not to for two reasons. First, that would ask for opinions. Opinions create argument, and I didn't want argument, I wanted statements of fact. That with the possible exception of washing your hands, every one of those could be used to do harm. So how they use those inventions really matters. Second reason, I have an opinion of what is the single most important invention contributing to human development, and I believe it to be a fact. And what do I submit that invention is? It is government. Government. My definition of government, a system regulating a community with a leader or leaders empowered to make and enforce rules of conduct. Now, why do I say that it's the most important? Because I think everyone, just about everyone, yes, I'll even include washing your hands. Everyone, to deliver its greatest value, requires government. Wheel, you need public roads and bridges and rules of how to use the roads. Electricity, you need property rights for generators and transmission and rules of usage. Vaccines, you can figure that one out for yourself. They all require government to achieve their highest value. I have a second question. What is the second greatest invention contributing to human progress? And I submit it was and is government created and maintained by popular vote, by the people, by the governed, not an autocrat or aristocrats or plutocrats or technocrats, by the people. In 7 weeks from today, we will commemorate the day a bunch of rebels produced a remarkable experiment. Abe described it well. He said, a nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. A nation conceived in liberty, dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now, those founders unfortunately had kind of a limited idea of who the people were, and Abe could have said men and women or even humans, but we've come a long way on that one and we're still working on it. But the key was the ultimate control was to be given to the people. In 167 days, the general election will be over. And we, or at least those of us who vote, will have decided who will run things for the next 2 or 4 years. And it really matters who those people are. When those rebels gave us this gift, they declared government exists to secure certain inalienable rights endowed by the Creator. That's not quite right, because if something were inalienable and endowed by a Creator, it would need no human help. But think, every right we have requires government to pass laws and a system to enforce it. It also requires laws, a fundamental law, which we call a constitution, to keep government from abridging those rights, which makes casting the vote critical. There are other ways to influence government. Critical. I'm biased, but it's convinced me of 3 things. Government is necessary. It can do wonderful things. And to keep it doing good things requires our attention. How do we give it our attention? Well, we can contact our elected officials. We can join some activist organization. We can even run for office. But it all starts and ultimately it all ends with the vote of the people who vote. When I speak, especially to the young people here, we're told, are tuning out because there's so much bitterness, and they think, well, it really doesn't make all that much a difference. Well, the people who will run things for the next 2 or 4 years will be decided not by those who tune out. It will be decided by those who vote, and especially those who vote intelligently, which means they vote because they are informed. They know what and who they are voting about. It is not for me today to tell you who or what to vote for. Not my business. But it is always the time and usually the place for us to remind ourselves of how important that vote is, and to tell and remind our fellow citizens how important that is. Why? And I confess, I'm here today because I have wanted to say this to an audience for a long time. Because it ultimately depends upon our vote that government of the people and by the people and for the people does not perish from the earth. So please vote.